Welcome back to Native Honor Hours. My name is Ed Zendejas, coming to you from the campus of the University of Nebraska, Omaha. And our co-host,
Cindy Krafka, coming to you from the comfort of my front room or living room. Do people say front room anymore?
I don't know. Say what you want to say. I don't care.
Promise.
Yes. We're actually in the middle of sort of a month that we need to sort of take back. On Monday will be the Ultimate Colonizers Day.
Columbus didn't discover SHIT Day.
Hey, now got kids
watching. It's true.
and also at the end of the month, I know there are a lot of people that Halloween is like their Christmas. I mean, in terms of importance they put on it, and that's fine. You can do whatever you want to, except, please, none of this Pocahontas costumes or and having said that, you're going to see people do it anyway.
But someone explained it to me that when you put on a costume, you do it to become somebody else. When you put on regalia, you do it to become yourself. So yeah, it's really offensive to see little kids walking around dressed as Pocahontas and.
Well, little kids won't be dressed as Pocahontas. They'll probably be wearing, headdresses, that feathers in their hair. It's usually the adults that put on, that kind of costume. But I've actually, I won't give candy out to kids dressed as Indians.
The worst year was the year Pocahontas came out. I just shut my door and turned off my lights and went with my kids trick-or-treating. It was there. Every other girl was in a Pocahontas uniform or a costume. You know what, though? As long as the costume places carry them, people will continue to wear them.
Well, it's not just that, because it's pretty easy to make a headband and put a paper feather in your hair too. It's not just the costume places, but once again, we're having to speak out against, that cultural appropriation or misappropriation,
stereotypes,
and the Halloween stereotype stuff. So there's other things you can do. Dress up,
and if you do, don't go to Ed's house.
Dress up as a zombie.
Well, isn't that what my kids always dressed up as stuff that was Halloweeny? One year I was really poor and I blew up a bunch of purple balloons and taped them to my son, and he was grapes.
You know what we used to do when I was a little kid? We just get a handkerchief and tie it to the end of a stick, and we go, we're hobos. Didn't have to change your clothes or anything. Just get you a stick, carry it over your shoulder with the little handkerchief or whatever on it, and trick or treat. What are you? We're hobos.
My mom was into matching costumes. Me and my little sister were. I remember us being Mary Poppins.
You know what? I never really did dress up. I just say one time I did, and that was basically for my kids. But I've never been a big Halloween dress up kind of thing. And having said that, my kids, some of them, they go to parties and they're all into the Halloween stuff, but I never did. Just give me the candy. Don't make me do anything else. Let me have candy and I'll be fine. But
my favorite was when they came home and Mom had to look through the candy. I have to check it out, kids. Mom will check it out and give you what you can eat.
No, yeah, and I used to institute a Halloween candy tax. So I'd go through, get all the Hershey's, the Reese's. They can keep the Tootsie Rolls, the candy corn, that kind of stuff. And that was my tax. And I'd let them have a candy bar too, but the Snickers, the Reese's, those were mine.
Oh, see, it was the exact opposite in my house. I had to learn to like almond joy, white chocolate, anything that they did, those root beer, sucky, hard things, anything they didn't like, mom got.
I actually like almond joy. That's one of my favorites.
Well, I do now.
Yeah, but anyway, Halloween time, just not gonna, no Indians, no headbands, Pocahontas stuff, just move on.
Well, and I'm happy to see that more and more Indigenous Day is replacing Columbus Day in a lot of places.
Well, we're coming to you from from Nebraska, and our legislature sort of did a compromise. They created, rather than getting rid of Columbus Day, they just added Indigenous Peoples Day. So we get to share our day with the colonizer.
Which is like slaves getting to share the day with the slave owners. One year we wanted to do not a protest, but a demonstration in downtown in the park. We called, and you know what they told us? No, there's too many Italians in Omaha that love Columbus, so the answer is no. If we
And
would have
having
all been
said
thrown
that,
in jail, we'd have gone down.
having said that, my kids are part Italian.
They have I always told my dad that I have the colonizer and the colonized in me. My dad was Serbian, and I think we all know what the Serbs did in Yugoslavia. So I have both in me too.
Well, but it's you know what? I know there's some tribes that are calling it protest day. You know what my protest against Columbus Day was?
What?
Go to work. I didn't take the day off. I didn't recognize it as a holiday. I just go to work. When I was working
No,
up at
never thought about that.
Huh?
I never thought about that.
No, I just went to work. I thought, you know what? I'm not going to take it off as a holiday. I'm going to go to work. And that's what I did. That was my protest.
Oh, Ed, you're so bad.
What? No, because when you don't go to work, you're sort of, you're approving of, taking a day off in honor of somebody. So I was like, no, my protest can be, I'm just going to go to work, treat it like another day.
My mom, when my mom was explaining Columbus Day to each of us kids, he was dirty, he smelled bad, he was lost, and he wasn't very smart, is how we were raised to look at Columbus. Can you imagine when you go to school and everybody else thinks he discovered it? I was like, wait, he didn't bathe. He didn't discover nothing. He was lost.
What's incredible to me is that there are still schools that are teaching, the notion of Columbus discovering.
Well, and if anybody discovered us first and more, it's the Vikings.
No, I'm not even gonna give them credit.
Well, they didn't stay.
No,
Do you remember Fred
no
Leroy?
one discovered us. How about that?
We were here.
No one,
this place
wasn't, this wasn't discovered, it was inhabited
by
us. So I want to leave the notion of anybody getting discovered or discovering us. So we'll leave it at that.
Do you remember Fred Leroy?
Of course. We mean, do I remember Fred?
He used to tell me the story, and he had a T-shirt about it too, that the Vikings were her first. And he looked at me and he said, "Why do you think you Lakota are so tall?" Viking. and truly believed it. They believed that they came and had some Indian fun and left.
I'm not going to go there.
Well, the thing is, if you stop and think about it, Vikings went to plunder and to pillage. There was nothing to plunder or pillage. We didn't have gold. We didn't have goods that they would deem important.
Well,
just pretty Indian women.
See, and the other thing is people really don't understand what Columbus did. And I always tell my students, don't take my word for it. Read his own diaries. see what he had to say about it, and then you know we should be teaching that. But I always tell students that want to go teach, I said, because sometimes they'll ask me, well, what should we teach about Columbus and how should we? I said, well, once you read about what he's done, it's pretty hard to be able to convey that to the little kids. You're going to traumatize them for the rest of their lives, and so we just need to avoid it. But
Well, no, but there's pictures in every classroom I was ever in. The pictures of Columbus came out. Columbus discovered America, and they really didn't want to hear any different. And it's not that much. It's not that much different now. We're trying to get anything bad about Columbus out of the schools. In Texas, one of their textbooks says that the Indians willingly gave the land to the white man so he could settle because they were so superior. Oh my God, I had a stroke, a mini stroke right there on that side.
no, there's a lot of misinformation about Columbus, and I think that one of the biggest ones is that really irritates me is I hear people say, well, he was a man of God. If you knew what he did, what he said he did, it's pretty hard to label him that. But here's the reason why. Because he had permission from the church to come here and to lay claim to all the stuff that soulless indigenous people. That's the thing, they weren't considered people, and they're savages. So you didn't have to treat them as human. And you essentially had a note saying, yeah, you can do that. So his power from God was a bit dubious, to say the least.
And plus, if you've ever done any research on Columbus, no, he wasn't that religious. He was a drunk. He was a ne'er-do-well. This expedition was his final try to do it, and he even got lost. So we're celebrating someone who was a drunk, dirty, unintelligent man who got lost on his one and only mission in life. So I'm just saying.
Well, all I have to say, and what I say to students, is just read for yourself. Don't take my word for it. Just Google, put in Columbus Diaries, and you can it's sort of rambling. His writing was pretty rambling style.
Because he was uneducated.
It was like a stream of consciousness. So you have to. He doesn't put it in subtitles, subcategories. This is how it was just sort of, he wrote what he thought. And so you have to look for it, but it's in there.
And in all reality, he discovered Haiti.
Well, I don't know if he discovered hate. What?
Haiti. Yeah, that's where he first
Haiti.
landed, Haiti.
But anyway, so we're sitting here having to deal with a couple of holidays. And then what comes after that is Thanksgiving. Doesn't get any easier. But well, that's what we're here for.
And the good news is you were just at one of those. We do immersions with Omaha public school teachers where we give them a day of immersion. We talk to them about Native issues. We talk to them about their kids. We invited Ed in to talk about the boarding schools, to explain a little bit about historical trauma. It also explains why the Natives have no efficacy with education, why it's really hard to get them to go to higher learning. A lot of it is because of the boarding schools. As you taught me, fearless leader.
I never mentioned anything about historical trauma.
Because that's just new within the last, I'd say 2 or 3 years. But if you really read about it, you can see the leftover in us. And hopefully we're breaking some of those things with our children. But did your mom ever say to you, if you don't quit crying, I'll give you something to cry about?
I thought that was just a universal mom thing.
No, that's an Indian mom thing, because that's what they were told in the boarding schools.
Oh, Kenny, you were told that as a kid, weren't you? No? Who knew? I thought everybody heard that line. You want something to cry about? I'll give you something to cry about.
Tell some of your friends from the great Caucasian nation some of the stuff your folks said to you, and they will be horrified. And we didn't even think anything about it. We just thought, oh, that's our moms, because all our moms were like that.
Yeah, we, today's my brother's birthday, and
Mario.
yeah, and we used to sit around and reminisce about the good old days when we were younger and some of the things that happened, and to us that was just regular life. But I guess to some people it was a little bit out of the ordinary. But
My favorite Mario story. I don't know. You must have been out of town or something. And me and Jordan, and there was one other person, I can't remember who it was, but Mario came with us. And first we talked about the royal wedding. And then we talked
that
about
definitely was not me.
what we did with our wedding rings from our ex-husbands. And like I threw mine in the garbage can and set it in the wedding album on fire. So we each were telling what we had done, and it's all over. And Mario turns around, looks at me and says, I'm going to home and call that woman and find out what she did with that ring. Mario had the Zendeja sense of humor, and he was the good looking one.
Well, there might be one or two that would argue with you on that.
Monica. But he had a great sense of humor. He was our arena director.
Oh yeah.
For one of our very first powwows.
Yeah. But anyway, we would reminisce about our upbringing, and definitely there are different times today. But
I was talking to my little brother, and he said, I don't know how to explain mom to people. And I think that is how a lot of us feel about trying to explain what it was like to be raised by an Indian mom. How do you explain it?
Well, you don't. You just experience it and move on. But let all these other people try to explain what that phenomenon was. But to us, it was just growing up, and all the experience we had. We can you look back and we can talk about historical trauma or whatever they want to call it, but to us that was just how you grew up. And the thing about it is that we are a resilient people. We can do whatever we want to do and have come back from a lot of things that the colonizer has tried to inflict upon us. But I like to,
when you survive genocide, it's pretty tough to go on. I remember when COVID first came out and people were saying it was nothing, I was thinking, you idiots, smallpox killed off 90% of Native Americans. Get the shot.
Well, so we have Thanksgiving to look at next after this, but hopefully we'll get through October. And the good thing about November is that it's Native American Heritage Month. So we can.
You know what? And do you believe we're not doing a film festival? Right about now, you and I would be crazy. I would be calling you, telling you better call Gary Farmer and tell him this and that. And we'd still be trying to raise money. Do you believe we get to just kick back, put our feet up and chill?
Well, it would be nice to do something like that, but we're still a ways away from having, because right now on the campus there's still restrictions on the number of people that could meet in any one particular spot. So I don't know if I'd want to have an event where I would say it's limited to 30 people or something like that.
Oh, can you imagine turning people away?
Unless everybody can come, I don't know if I want to be in that position.
Well, and the coolest thing about doing it with you is everybody was always, you need to charge. And you always said, no.
No, if I invite you over to my place, I'm not going to charge you.
Well, I have to bring dessert. So it's a little charge.
No, you don't. You offer to do that. You can come by. You don't have to bring anything.
My mother would raise up out of her grave and snatch me down.
I would have liked to have seen that.
I wish you could have known my mom. I think you two would have got along. You would have enjoyed picking on me with her.
Yeah, that would have been nice. Oh, you know what else is coming up next week?
What?
The National Indian Education
NIEA.
whatever conference that's going to be held here in Omaha, Nebraska, and educators from around the country will be here. And you know what we should try to do, Kenny, if maybe you're not up to it. Remember when we had NCAI down in Lincoln, we had those remote shows. I don't know, are you up to doing that next week, Kenny?
I remember the head of NCAI. We interviewed him. I was so nervous I couldn't even talk.
You know, here's what happened. You know, we had the National Congress of American Indians had their national conference in Lincoln, Nebraska. I think it was 2010. And we had just started our show, and we were still on MAV radio. It's you know, just limited. I don't think our signal went past 72nd and Dodge Street. but we went, I had this goofy idea. Hey, let's go down to NCAI and see if we can interview president of the National Congress of American Indians. And I said that, Cindy's like, oh, they won't ever want to come talk to us. Well, we're just a little rinky-dink little college radio show that, you know, has
Yes,
two
we
viewers.
were.
And I said, you know, they're politicians. All you got to do is tell them there's a microphone, they're going to go over the air, and they're like, sign me up. And he didn't believe me.
No.
We go there, set up. We had a little we had a little banner, didn't we? Like MAV radio. And we set up. Yeah, and we looked official because Kenny had a camera, we had microphones set up, and we looked halfway respectable. And I thought, I'm gonna go get us a guest. And Cindy didn't believe me that I could get the president of the National Congress. So I went roaming around and I saw him, and I said, hello, his name was Jefferson Keel.
Yeah.
I said, oh, hey, Mr. Keel, President, good to see you. You know, I'm Edson Dejas. Oh, we have this TV show, this radio show that we put on, and we're doing a remote broadcast. We would like to know if you'd like to be a guest on our show. And he goes, radio? He sort of, where's this at? And I said, well, we're down for. He looked at his guy who was running his schedule and said, can we do this? And the guy, yeah. He said, so he picked a time, and
it was on TV. That wasn't when we were just radio. That was filmed.
But we got him on there, and then I thought Ben Nighthorse Campbell, who had just retired from the Senate, he just retired, and he was there, and I said, I'm gonna go get the senator to be on our show, and Cindy goes, no, you're not. No.
Okay, you know, just thinking about it today.
I just had the attitude of, so what? What are they gonna do? Just tell us no? We get that all the time. So I went roaming around the halls, and I saw him, and he's got a couple people. As a former senator, you
a great senator.
Get staff. You know, they still have security and staff that you can have for so many years. And he had a couple people around him, and I went up to him, and they sort of, you know, kind of blocked him a little bit. And I said, oh, Senator Campbell. You know, Edson Dejas radio show, you know, and we just booked President Keel to come on. It would be nice if you could, and he's like, radio? He looked at his handler and said, when are we available? He looked at it, I can do it tomorrow. That's great. Love to have you anytime we can get. And then we had him on the show, and I remember.
I fell completely and totally apart. I went mute. I giggled, everything that is completely opposite of my person. I was just starting out. Now that we've had Gary and all those guys, I could probably talk to them, but I was just starting out. And that was like for us interviewing the president of the United States. And he sat down and I was like,
they were just Indian dudes to me. I I don't know. It wasn't that intimidating to me. I was kind of happy to do it, but
I was scared to death. I thought I would sound dumb. I
but
was worried my lipstick wasn't good. It was all bad, Ed.
but maybe next week we can have a remote show from the National Indian Education Conference. I don't know. I don't know if there's any big dogs coming in, but any big cheeses. Maybe Deb Holland will be, and if she is, we're going to get her on the show.
Oh my God.
She,
Oh,
she
you
won't.
know what? I put on her Facebook page, we'd really like to have you on your radio show, oddly, on our TV show. Oddly, I have not heard back from her handlers. How about Sharice Davis? Could we get her?
I don't know. Maybe whoever's there, we'll get. I'll find out because we're signed up to our program has a booth down there as a vendor. So I'll find out keynote speakers, that kind of stuff. See who's in town,
I
and
know you're doing it because I have the grandchild that whole week. Thanks,
we're
Ed.
going to get them on our show. You watch. Now that we have such a vast TV audience, how can they say no? Impossible to say no to us.
And you know, we never could have done it without Kyle Finley. We don't
Who?
say it enough, but I'm using
Who?
his real name. So if anybody sees it, they know. Kenny has brought us from radio. I don't even remember saying I'd go on TV. All of a
He
sudden,
brought
there was
us out of obscurity from 2 listeners
you
to
did.
10.
You are responsible.
We've gone viral.
We're big dogs now, Kenny.
We only have a couple minutes left, but I want to get to my knucklehead of the week. I don't know if you have
Please
an Indian
do.
of the week.
Go ahead, knucklehead.
Is Senator from Wyoming. I think it's John Barrasso. Rhymes with you know what.
Yep.
This week they're voting on the nomination of Robert Anderson to be the Solicitor General for Department of Interior. Basically, the head attorney for the Department of Interior. And Senator from Wyoming, sought to block his confirmation. And, and that's fine. That's politics. I understand that. But the reason he gave was this Anderson, he only has experience in tribal federal Indian law. Certainly doesn't have the experience, to handle the complicated web of federal law, land and mineral policy, and that, if you're opposed to him, that's fine, but don't insult the man's intelligence. Mr. Anderson taught law at Harvard and at the University of Washington law schools.
And meanwhile, this senator was a rancher.
And no, actually, he was a medical doctor, but he says, well, he's reversing all of these Trump policies that are, of course, this was an election. Don't you know? You've heard this. Elections have consequences. Now, if you're opposed to him because he's taken policy in a different direction, that's fine. Just say that. I'm opposed to you because you're undoing all of my man's policies here. Fine, that's politics. Don't say, well, he's not experienced enough, doesn't know enough in this area. The man has been published numerous articles about federal land policy, mineral rights, all that stuff. Don't sit here and say he doesn't have enough experience. That's BS. And for that, Senator Barrasso, you're a knucklehead.
Oh my gosh, Ed, that viewing audience, that's one of the few times you're ever going to see Brother Ed really worked up. You almost cussed, Ed.
Well, I sort of kind of did.
I agree with you. And it's racism. There's a lot of people in states with natives in them do not like them.
What gets me is I'm sure he voted for a lot of those judicial nominees to the federal bench that have never tried, a criminal trial in front of a jury. But they are qualified. So I don't want to hear this crap about someone not being qualified.
Putting a woman on a Supreme Court who doesn't belong there. I'm sure he voted for that too.
But anyway, Kenny is telling us that our time is up. And hopefully next week we'll be coming to you from the National Indian Education Conference, and whoever the big cheese is there, we'll try to get on the show. But thanks for tuning in.
See you next week.